Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 16 of my show, which is also going to be about Episode 16. Now, before I start talking about it, I just want to mention, since I'm on Episode 16, that means I got 4 more videos left, because after this one, it's going to be 4. Because counting this one, because 16, 17, 18... Oh, wait, dude. 17, 18, 19, 20... Yeah, because this is episode 16, so not counting this one, I got 4 more left. And I will probably put that in the description for this video. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Anyway, getting into the actual episode. This is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 16 of my show, which is also about Episode 16. And Episode 16 is known as the Deep South. Now, before I start talking about it, I just want to mention one other thing. The reason why it's called that is because it's going to feature a version of Atlanta that's underwater, and Atlanta in the current world is in the southern area of the United States. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Anyway, basically what happens is, the way this episode first starts off is basically everyone at the Planet Express building is enjoying their day, and then Hermes comes in and he's like, "Good news, people! The pet license I requisitioned for Nibbler has arrived!" And then basically when Lena hears that, she wonders that she didn't know he cared about Hermes, but he said he didn't, and then he makes up some excuse that he would want to do to Nibbler, but he couldn't because of her and stuff. But when he goes to open it, he sees that it's not a pet license, because he says one of his weird sayings, and then he's like, "This isn't a pet license, it's a fishing license." Because he's like, well, first he's like, "There's been a mix-up. This isn't a pet license. It's a fishing license." And then when he realizes what type of fishing license it is, he's like, "And it's mandatory." So because of them getting the mandatory fishing license instead of the pet license, in acquisition for Nibbler, they have to go on a fishing trip because of the mandatory fishing license. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's just funny. And that's a little funny because of it. So basically, they equip the ship with a thing to make it fly to the ocean so that they can swim, so that they can fish with it and stuff. And then while they're fishing, what happens is, Amy basically, uses it as an opportunity to basically suntan and stuff. And then actually it's going to lead into a funny thing with Bender, because what's going to happen is Bender is going to use her parasol as a fishing hook. I just wanted to bring that part of it up. And then just as Hermes is about to eat it, he actually ties this before he throws the parasol that he changes into a fishing hook into the water. What happens is he hooks his makeshift fishing line thing on a sandwich that Hermes is eating, and then Hermes is like, "My manwich," which is basically, I think, like a sloppy joke kind of thing. Anyway, and the rope that before Bender tosses it out, he ties this rope to it, but then the professor basically freaks out about that, and he tells Bender to be careful with that, because he's like, "Bender, be careful! That's the unbreakable diamond tether!" And then basically Bender wonders why he has to be careful with it, because if it's unbreakable, why does he have to be careful with it? And then the professor states that the reason why he has to be careful is because it used to belong to his grandmother. So the reason why he's got to be careful with it is because of some sentimental value. And oh my god, I'm sorry, but it's funny in a sentimental way because the line is an unbreakable diamond tether, but the reason why the professor wants him to be careful with it is because of a sentimental reason that it belonged to his grandmother and he doesn't want him to break it even though he knows it's an unbreakable diamond tether. And then he basically, like I said before, he hooks Hermes' food onto his makeshift hook, and then when Hermes' food gets taken, he's like, "My manwich!" And then he starts fishing with it, and then basically, while they start fishing, they catch different kinds of things, and they don't get any fish. And then after that, when Amy gets up from her sunbathing, she realizes that she's had sunburn. It's like, sunburn! Like she said that after she sees her body, and then she asks if anyone saw her parasol, and then Bender's like, "Not since I took your umbrella," which in this case is the same thing, because a parasol and an umbrella in this case is the same thing. And then Amy gets mad at Bender, and he's like, "What? I put sunblock on you." And then Amy says that the sunblock that he put on her didn't work. And then basically it didn't work because he put it on her back instead of the front part of it. Oh my god. And he had this weird little thing on it. Some kind of art form, and then Benner makes a snicker about that. And then basically what happens is the line manages to get caught on something underwater because of them fishing, and then basically they try to pull it out with the unbreakable diamond tether, but it doesn't work out. And then the ship starts rocking because of what they have they have hooked under the water that's a fish, and then after they see it's a coloss. And then when basically they see it, like, the professor's like, "A colossal mouth bass!" Which is basically a gigantic bass fish. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. That's a little hilarious. Because he's like, "Oi, zombie Jesus, a colossal mouth bass!" And then basically the bass is pulling them because he's still attached to the unbreakable diamond tether, which is also technically still attached to the ship. And then basically what happens is because of that, they start running, and after what happens is Zoidberg says that he'll save them by which this is kind of ironic because of what he says he'll do to save them is like using his claw to he's like, "Wait, I'll save us by cutting the unbreakable diamond filament." Which in this case is his way of saying the unbreakable diamond tether. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I am sorry. That's just hilarious because of the fact that it's an unbreakable diamond tether. So even if Zoidberg does try to cut it, he's not gonna be successful in cutting it. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. And then the fish manages to pull them underneath the water where they end up stranded for a bit, and then they basically, because of them having to go outside, outside underwater, because of the ship being pulled underwater, because of the colossal mouth bass, what happens is they try to adapt to being underwater for a little bit, and then basically what happens is Leela tells Fry to find some stuff for them to eat while they're underwater and stuff, and then basically, so Fry goes to look, and then basically what happens is, while he looks, he sees this mermaid, and he acts all stuttery, and then basically, and then after that, they get back to the ship and they're eating, and then he's still acting stuttery by what he's saying, and then basically, Leela tells him that he's got to finish what he's eating first and then talk, and then he says that he's a mermaid, and then basically they don't believe him by that, and then basically Leela makes an excuse where she's like, I'm afraid Fry's got ocean madness. And then when basically, when Fry hears her say that, he's like, every time something good happens to me, you'd say I got some kind of madness, or that I was drunk. And he basically says that he saw what he saw, and he just wished for once that his friends had the decency to believe him, and then basically, and then Leela says ocean madness again, and then Fry leaves and closes the door, and that's when the professor basically is like, he may have ocean madness, but that's no excuse for ocean rudeness. Oh my god. Because even ocean madness isn't actually a thing and stuff. And basically what happens is, before I continue, I should just mention something here about Dr. Zoidberg. There's going to be 2 funny segments with Dr. Zoidberg in this episode. Now, what I mean by 2 funny segments is, in this episode, Zoidberg is going to have a house, getting like a second home and stuff, so he's going to have to stay underwater and stuff. And that leads into the funny thing that's going to happen with it. But I just wanted, because there's 2 funny scenes in this episode that kind of are connected to Dr. Zoidberg. Because I will say again that as I just mentioned, he gets a house in this episode. But what happens is, but I'll save the funny part of what happens to that after, when I get to that part of it. I just wanted to bring the part with the house up. And then basically, Fry goes outside after taking these oxygen capsule things so that he can breathe underwater without drowning. And then basically what happens is, while he's there, he sees the mermaid that he saw before. Now, the mermaid that he saw was named Umbriel. Now the funny thing about this is, this episode is going to have the future version of the American city of Atlanta, which in this series is underwater, sort of like the lost city of Atlantis kind of thing. Because Atlantis, Atlanta, potato, same thing. But like I said, it's a series about the future, and hopefully that doesn't actually happen. I really don't think so. But who knows what could actually happen in the future, like even because of what we're dealing with right now and everything, with this pandemic and everything right now. So who knows what's going to happen? It's up in the air. I'm sorry to get off topic there. I just thought I'd bring it up since I mentioned it. Anyway, after he sees her, they get on, and after some talking, there's this montage that happens where I basically falling in love with Umbriel, and then he goes back with her to her dad's house, and then basically before that, what happens is he takes his friends with him to meet her and stuff, and then Umbriel basically takes Fry and his friends on a tour of Atlanta, and then that's when basically Leela tells Fry that Atlanta was a city back in his time, and then he says that he thinks so. But it might have been something else, and then basically Unreal said that it was Delta Hub and a vibrant metropolis and sort of thing, and then they're wondering how it ended up in the water, and that's when the mayor, Unreal's father, who's also the sort of, I guess you could think of him as the mayor of the underwater city of Atlanta in this series, shows them this video diary that's narrated by this folk-rock troubadour guy, and then he basically tells them about the landmarks that they had, like the Coca-Cola factory building, the Atlanta Braves baseball stadium, and the people that were on it and stuff, and the music hall, that kind of thing. And after the thing ends, they say that, and then Bender gets a little annoyed by that because he's like, whoa, wouldn't it take millions of years for people to evolve into mermaids? Which is technically true. It would take thousands of years for people who were normally forced underwater to adapt to it by becoming mermaids. And that Unreal does tell Bender that is normally correct. But the Coca-Cola from the factory that also sunk with the city at that time basically sped up the process. So basically it accelerated their transformation into mermaids and stuff, and then basically that's when they find out about that, and then the Colonel character, who, as I stated in this series, is both the mayor in this episode and Unreal's father, says that he mentions about how her daughter took to this spell. He was skeptical, but it was okay. And then basically after that, basically what happens is Fry tells him that she's gonna be okay. And then basically what happens is the professor says that it was nice meeting them and all, and thanking them for the meal, but they gotta get to back on dry land and not underwater. And then they tell Fry that because they want him to come with them, but he says he's not because he's happy. And then basically the professor gets annoyed by that and mentions that if he stays underwater for too long, the pressure will cause his body to adapt to it, meaning that he won't be able to breathe normal air again. And then basically they decide to leave, and then because the professor gets annoyed by that, and he's like, "Let's go, damn it, let's go!" And then they basically say goodbye to Fry. Now that's not the only time in this series the professor's gonna get annoyed. It's actually gonna happen again in one of the later seasons. Oh, I think it's in season 5. I might have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's in season 5. But I am not going to spoil the specifics of why he freaks out about that part, because it's actually kind of funny, because it's actually in a funny episode, but I don't want to say anymore because I don't want to talk about that season until I get to it. Oh, but anyway, he's like, "Let's go, damn it, let's go!" And then after they leave, what happens is they say goodbye to Fry, and then Bender starts crying a bit because he's missing his friend and stuff. And then basically what happens is they also decide to part ways with Zoidberg, and Zoidberg tells them goodbye as well. But they're sort of nonchalantly about it, like they don't really care about Zoidberg. So he goes to his house that's also underwater, but then he realizes that his house is burned down. Because he's like, "Oh, my house, how could this have happened? And then Hermes is like, that's a good question. And then when Bender realizes that's where he left his cigar, Hermes is like, that just raises further questions. Which is kind of true, because why did Bender leave his cigar in the presence of Zoidberg's home, which is also underwater? Now, the reason why I'm skeptical about it is because cigars are basically smoke, and smoke is caused because of fire, but I guess cigarette smoke isn't actually caused by fire. It's caused by the lighting of nicotine and stuff, so it doesn't actually count. So because it caused the Zoidberg's house to burn down, which was underwater. That's why I was confused when I first saw that segment of the episode, because of that, it confused me, and technically it still does, because it's underwater. So and you can make the case that it is cigarette smoke. So it's smoke from a cigar. It's not actual fire. So probably water doesn't affect it as much as it does. And then basically they go to leave, and then basically what happens is Fry's underwater, and he's hanging out with Umbriel, but after he finds out about what happens with mermaids, whether she leaves and then tries to go back with them to the ship, and then afterward they manage to get back above ground, and then they see that he's with them, and then basically Amy wonders, Bender gets happy because he brings a fish with him, and the mayor is measuring it for measurements to see if it's the largest fish, and after he sees that it is, he gives Bender this check for like $1 million and stuff, and then basically that's when they realize that Fry came back to the surface with them, and they're wondering, Amy wonders what happened with Umbriel, and then Fry basically says that it turns out he was, actually, before I end this video, I just want to mention two other things. I am getting close to the end of the episode, but when he was running off, he was like, why couldn't she be the other type of mermaid with the fish lady on top and the lady part on the bottom? And then basically, what happens is, after, now getting back into what I was saying, Fry mentions to them that he turns out he loved her, but he wasn't in love with her, and then Amy says that it's shown in bed, and then basically Bender gives Fry a hug because he's back, but then the mayor takes back Bender's money because it's not a really big fish. And he says that he's giving it to some orphans, and then basically Bender starts choking Fry because of that. And then Zoidberg's like, hey, quiet down, I'm trying to TV, because his new house is inside the fish that Bender caught. And then that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys probably next week for the next video, but or sometime, probably sometime next week for the next video. So, but until then, guys, like I always tell you with this series, fun on a bun.